While building a crib for my newborn son, I heard my husband say to his parents, "She's not even the real mother anyway." I dropped the wrench, walked into the room, and asked, "Want to say that again?" His dad whispered, "You said she knew." My husband turned white as I pulled out the adoption papers we both signed last year. It was a quiet Sunday morning in late October. The kind where you can hear the wind brushing dried leaves down the driveway and the sound of the coffee maker hissing in the background feels oddly comforting. I was in the nursery, knees on the floor, squinting at the instruction manual for the damn crib that came with 300 bolts and no words, just tiny drawings of screws that looked all the same. My name's Marissa, just turned 39 last month. I live in Asheville, North Carolina. Born and raised. I teach art at a middle school here, and up until recently, I had a pretty normal life. Or at least I thought I did. Life hadn't always gone the way I'd planned it. Hell, when does it ever? But for the past 3 years, I'd felt like things were finally starting to settle. I'd married Ian, a software engineer who worked remotely, the kind of guy who always had an answer, always had a plan. We'd struggled with fertility for a while, 3 rounds of IVF, 2 miscarriages, and then 1 gut-wrenching consultation later, we'd decided to adopt. We brought home our son, Noah, 2 months ago. And I loved him. I loved him so much it hurt. He was mine in every way that mattered. I'd rocked him through his colic, cried with him during those long, sleepless nights, kissed his soft forehead 1,000 times. I was his mom. So when I heard my husband's voice drift in from the living room, muffled but clear enough to make the wrench slip from my fingers, I froze. She's not even the real mother anyway. I didn't move at first. I thought hoped I'd misheard him. That maybe he was quoting someone or joking, or then I heard his father say quietly, "You said she knew." And my world cracked wide open. I got up, hands trembling, and walked down the hall. I didn't even stop to wipe the tears that were suddenly stinging my eyes. I walked right into the living room where Ian was standing between his parents, his mom, Sharon, perched stiffly on the edge of the couch, his dad, Arnold, leaning forward like he didn't want to be heard. I looked straight at Ian and said, "Want to say that again?" His eyes met mine, and I swear to God, I watched the blood drain from his face. Marissa, wait, but I wasn't interested in excuses. Not yet. I walked back to the nursery, reached into the bottom drawer of the changing table, and pulled out the adoption papers we'd both signed. The ones he said he was so proud of. The ones he posted about on Facebook with the caption, "Family is chosen." I walked back into the room, held them up, and said, "You mean these? The ones we both signed? The ones that make me his real mother?" Sharon gasped. Arnold looked down at his hands. Ian looked like he was about to vomit. "Marissa," he said again, voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean it like that." "Oh," I said, every nerve in my body buzzing like a live wire. "Then how did you mean it?" His parents stood up, awkward, trying to make a quiet exit. "We'll just give you 2 some space," Sharon muttered. I didn't stop them. I stared at Ian, waiting for him to explain, to backpedal, to say something, anything, that would make it better. He sat down slowly on the arm of the chair, rubbing his face like the stress was his to carry. "Look," he started, I was trying to calm them down. "They've been pushing for weeks, saying Noah doesn't look like us, asking if we're ever going to tell him. And I snapped. I blinked. So your solution was to throw me under the bus? To discredit my motherhood in 1 sentence? I didn't mean it like that," he said again. "It was just something to shut them up." "No, Ian. That wasn't just something. That was everything." We sat in silence. The clock ticked. Somewhere in the nursery, the baby monitor crackled softly. "Do you even see me as his mother?" I asked quietly. "Or am I just, what? The woman who feeds him, changes him, rocks him to sleep while you go for a run in the morning?" His silence was answer enough. Ian didn't answer. He sat there with his hands clasped together like he was at confession, eyes locked on the floor. I don't know what I expected. Maybe an apology that meant something, maybe even a breakdown. But instead, he just looked annoyed. Like I was the one overreacting. "I don't know what you want me to say," he finally muttered. I laughed. That bitter, dry kind of laugh that only comes when you've been slapped in the face without warning. "I want you to say what you actually meant. No spin. No calming them down. Just be honest with me for once." He stood up and started pacing, which he always did when he was cornered. I used to think it was because his brain was working overtime. Now I realize it's probably because he hated being pinned to anything. "All right," he said, finally turning to me. "I love Noah, okay? I do. But sometimes what? I snapped. Sometimes you forget he's adopted? Or do you just pretend I'm not his mom because I didn't give birth to him? He winced. Don't twist my words. I'm not. You said what you said. You're just mad that I heard it. He sat down again, running a hand through his hair. You don't understand the pressure. My parents, they keep saying we should have adopted from a white family, or at least someone who resembled us. They ask why we didn't wait longer, why we didn't go private. I stared at him. So this isn't even about me. This is about appearances. About what your parents want. He didn't deny it. I can't believe I married someone who thinks love is about what people look like, I whispered. I don't think that, he said too quickly. But they do. And I'm caught in the middle. You're not caught, Ian. You chose to stand there. You chose to say I wasn't Noah's real mother. We both jumped when Noah's cry came through the monitor, sharp, sudden, and needy. I stood up, walking toward the door. Marissa, wait. Please. I stopped but didn't turn around. You didn't just hurt me, Ian. You undermined everything we've built, everything he needs from us. And you did it for their approval. I left the room and walked straight to the nursery. Noah was wriggling in his crib, fists clenched, face red. I scooped him up and held him close, whispering to him like I always did. I'm here, baby. I'm your mom. Always. That night, Ian slept on the couch. I didn't tell him to, I didn't have to. He knew better. I spent most of the night rocking Noah, humming to him softly in the armchair by the window, staring out at the wind-tossed trees in the backyard. I thought about everything we'd gone through to get here. The paperwork, the waiting, the home visits, the questions about race, finances, education, religion. The promises we made to Noah's birth mother. The way Ian cried the day we brought Noah home, tears I now wondered if I had misread. In the days that followed, something shifted between us. He avoided me. I didn't chase him. He brought me coffee in the mornings, and I didn't drink it. He tried to act like things were fine, asking about dinner, talking about work, forwarding me baby sleep guides like nothing had happened. I answered only when necessary. One evening, I found a folded-up letter in the kitchen drawer. It was written by Noah's birth mother, Alicia, the day she signed the relinquishment papers. Dear Noah, I am giving you the most beautiful life I can imagine. Marissa will love you with everything in her. I saw it in her eyes the moment she held you. I trust her with you more than I trust myself. This isn't goodbye, it's a beginning. You'll understand one day. Love always, Alicia. I read it again and again. Then I looked at Ian, sitting across the room, scrolling on his phone like we weren't crumbling. You should read this, I said. He didn't look up. What is it? Alicia's letter. He gave a short exhale, something between a scoff and a sigh. I've read it before. Read it again. He didn't move. Ian, I said quietly. Read it again and then tell me if you think I'm not his real mother. His jaw clenched. He took the paper from my hand, skimmed it, then folded it up and placed it on the table without a word. You know what the worst part is? I said, voice shaking. You didn't even defend me. You didn't stand up to them. You sat there and let them think I was a babysitter. That's not true. It is. And you know it. Things didn't explode all at once. It was more like watching paint peel. Every day, a little more of what we had chipped away. I still got up at 3 a.m. with Noah. Still packed Ian's lunch for work. Still folded his socks into neat little rolls like he liked. But every act of care became a quiet accusation. And he knew it. We started therapy. I told him I'd only consider staying if we both committed. He agreed. Our therapist, Diana, was sharp, no nonsense, and the first person who asked Ian directly, "Why did you say it?" The silence in that office could have shattered glass. Finally, he answered. Because I felt like a fraud, like the whole thing wasn't real, like we were pretending. I blinked. Pretending? He looked at me with such rawness, I almost didn't recognize him. It's not about you. It's about me. I thought being a dad would feel different, natural, but it doesn't. I feel like I'm watching someone else's life. Diana nodded slowly. That's honest. Painful, but honest. I didn't speak. I didn't expect to feel disconnected, he continued. And when my parents started in on how he's not ours and he doesn't look like us, I let their doubts validate my own. That still doesn't make what you said okay, I said quietly. I know. That was the first time he'd said that. I know. After that session, things got quieter between us. Not better, just quieter. Like we were both walking barefoot across broken glass, trying not to bleed. A week later, Sharon and Arnold invited us to dinner. Their olive branch, as Ian called it. He wanted to believe that they were trying. I didn't share his optimism, but I agreed for Noah's sake. I figured if we were going to start repairing the damage, it had to start somewhere. We drove out to their house in Black Mountain, about 20 minutes from Asheville. They had the kind of house that looks like it belongs in a Southern Living magazine: white porch swing, wind chimes, flower beds that always somehow bloomed too perfectly year-round. But inside, it always felt cold. Sharon greeted us at the door with that same tight-lipped smile she always gave me. "You look tired," she said by way of hello. "Newborn?" I replied with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Arnold patted Ian's back and gave me a brief nod. "Good to see you, Marissa." We sat down to a roast dinner. Noah was asleep in his car seat next to the table, and I kept one hand on the handle like some kind of anchor. Most of dinner was shallow conversation, whether Ian's work, Sharon's latest bridge tournament. I let them talk. Halfway through dessert, Sharon suddenly turned to me and said, "So, have you two talked about when you'll tell Noah the truth?" I put my fork down slowly. "The truth. That he's adopted." My heart thudded. Ian shifted beside me. "It's not something we're hiding," I said carefully. "But we'll tell him when he's old enough to understand." "He should know early," Arnold chimed in. "So he doesn't grow up thinking you're I am his real mother," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. An uncomfortable silence settled over the table. "Don't get defensive," Sharon said, as if I'd been the one who'd just questioned someone's motherhood. "We just think it's important to be transparent." "You mean you want to be the ones to tell him?" I said. "Because you can't stand the fact that he's mine." "That's not fair," Ian said quickly, but his voice lacked conviction. I turned to him. "Are you going to say something, or are you going to let them talk about our son like he's a family secret?" Ian looked like a deer in headlights. Arnold cleared his throat. "We've always supported you," he said. "But we never agreed with how fast you rushed into this adoption." "We waited 2 years," I snapped. "And we were both overjoyed to bring Noah home." Sharon leaned forward. "You were." Ian had doubts. I stared at Ian, who suddenly wouldn't look at me. "You told them you had doubts?" I said slowly. He exhaled and rubbed his temples. "Not like that. I just said it all happened quickly, and I wasn't sure if I was ready." My chest tightened. "But you told me you were. You told me you wanted this." "I did," he said. "I do." "Then why did you tell them something different?" "Because I needed someone to talk to," he said, almost pleading. "And I couldn't tell you. You were already carrying so much." I pushed my chair back and stood up. "You mean I was doing everything, and you didn't have the guts to tell me you were spiraling?" Arnold stood up too. "Maybe this isn't the right place for this conversation." "No," I said, glaring at him. "You wanted this dinner. You wanted this confrontation. Let's have it." Sharon stood. "You're acting irrational." "No, I'm acting like a mother whose motherhood was just called fake again." And this time, by my husband's silence. We left before coffee. Ian didn't say a word the entire drive home. I could hear Noah breathing softly in the back seat, blissfully unaware that his family was unraveling thread by thread. When we got home, I put Noah in his crib and went straight to the guest bedroom. Ian followed. "Don't do this." "I'm not doing anything, Ian." "You are. You've been doing it for months. You're blowing this out of proportion." "No," I said. "I'm finally seeing it clearly. You never processed the adoption. You went through the motions, signed the papers, posed for the pictures, but deep down, you never saw Noah as ours. And now, your parents are feeding that doubt, and you're letting them." "I never said he wasn't ours." "You didn't have to. You keep acting like I imagined all of this. But I see it in your face every time someone says he doesn't look like you. Every time your mom makes a snide comment about his hair. You shrink. You vanish." He sat down hard on the edge of the bed. "I didn't think it would be this hard," he said. "I thought love would just happen." My heart ached. "It does. But only if you open yourself up to it. And maybe I'm not wired like that," he whispered. That was the first honest thing he'd said in weeks. And it shattered me. In the following days, I kept my distance. I started staying later at school, taking Noah to my sister's on weekends. Ian tried, in small, clumsy ways: flowers, dinner, offers to take night shifts, but the damage had deep roots now. And the worst part? I didn't trust him. I didn't trust him not to let his parents speak that way again. I didn't trust him to stand up for me when it mattered. I didn't trust that he believed I was a mother. One evening, I came home and found Sharon in my kitchen. I stopped in the doorway, stunned. "I let her in," Ian said quickly, appearing behind her. "She just wanted to talk." I looked at her. Unless you're here to apologize, you can leave. I am, she said, surprising both of us. I'm here because I was wrong. I didn't move. She stepped forward. I've been unfair to you. I've let my own feelings cloud my judgment. I was scared when you adopted Noah, scared you'd take Ian away, scared he'd forget his roots. But I see now that you're his mother. And you've been stronger than any of us. I raised an eyebrow. Why now? She hesitated. Because I watched the video you sent Alicia. The one where you thanked her. The one where you held Noah and cried. I never saw love like that in a courtroom. Or a hospital. I saw it in your living room, wrapped in a blanket at 2 a.m. I didn't know what to say. Ian looked stunned. I'll leave, she said. But I needed to say that. A week after Sharon's unexpected apology, I got a letter. A real one. In the mailbox. No return address. It was from Alicia. I hadn't heard from her in almost 6 months, not since the final paperwork had gone through and she'd made the painful decision to walk away from contact for a while. I'd respected her boundaries, even though I'd written her a dozen times, sending photos and little updates through the agency. I always ended with, he's happy. He's safe. Thank you. So when I saw her name at the bottom of that letter, I sat down on the porch swing and didn't breathe until I finished reading. The letter was calm, but it cut through me. Asterisk Marissa, I need to tell you something. I wasn't going to because I didn't want to cause problems, but I realized the truth matters more than comfort. Before the adoption was finalized, Ian reached out to me. Alone. He said he was having second thoughts, that he wasn't sure this was the right path. He didn't mention you by name, but it was clear he was doing this behind your back. He asked if I'd be willing to postpone signing. Maybe keep Noah a little longer. Give him time to rethink. He sounded nervous. Panicked, even. But also desperate to feel in control. I told him the same thing I told the agency. I'd already made peace with my decision. And I trusted you. I thought you should know. I still do trust you. You're the best mother Noah could have asked for. Alicia asterisk, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there with that letter in my lap, letting the weight of it settle. Ian hadn't just questioned me after the adoption. He tried to sabotage it before it even happened. And I'd been too blind to see it. I waited 2 days before I confronted him. Not because I was unsure, but because I needed time to think. I needed a plan. And by God, I came up with one. On Saturday, I sat Ian down in the nursery. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept well in days. Probably guilt. Or fear. Maybe both. I got a letter from Alicia, I said. His eyes widened. I watched the realization ripple across his face. She told me what you did. He leaned forward. Marissa, you lied to me, I interrupted. You lied to her. You tried to stop the adoption behind my back. And then you played the doting dad like it never happened. I was scared, he whispered. I stared at him. No, you were weak. He didn't deny it. I handed him the letter. He read it in silence. When he finished, he folded it carefully, like it was fragile. Like if he crumpled it, it might make things worse. What do you want from me? He finally asked. I smiled. Cold. Calm. Nothing. I'm done asking you for things. I spent the next 2 weeks getting everything in order. I called my lawyer. I called the adoption agency. I even called Alicia. I told her the truth, everything. That Ian had been disrespectful. That his parents continued to make comments. That I wasn't sure if I could stay in this marriage. And Alicia said, you've done right by him. If you leave, it won't be a loss. It'll be protection. That gave me strength. I moved money quietly. I lined up daycare. I looked into housing options, small but cozy places closer to my sister's home. Then I waited for the right moment. Ian came home one Friday to a quiet house. I'd left Noah with my sister for the weekend. He walked in, looked around, and saw the dining table cleared and 2 glasses of wine waiting. What's this? He asked. I sat across from him and slid a folder across the table. What's this? He asked again, slower. Separation papers. He blinked. What? I'm leaving, I said. And I'm taking Noah with me. His face fell. You can't just. I can. And I will. You don't even have a job that pays enough to, I do. And I have a lawyer. And I have documentation. And I have Alicia's letter. He went pale. I leaned forward. You tried to take my motherhood from me. Now I'm taking back my life. He stood up, pacing. You're overreacting. This is crazy. No, I said calmly. What's crazy is that I ever trusted you to be the father my son deserves. He tried to argue, to spin, to backpedal. But I didn't engage. I stood up, picked up my keys, and looked him in the eye one last time. You said I wasn't the real mother. So, let me make it real simple. The real mother is the one who shows up. Every time. Without lies. Without doubt. Without needing to be praised for it. I walked to the door. I'll be in touch about custody. But for now, I'm done pretending this is a family. And I left. In the months that followed, I moved into a sweet little rental on the edge of town. I decorated it with warmth and color and softness. Noah thrived. His first word was mama. His first step was toward me. Ian tried. He called. He wrote emails. Long, tortured messages filled with regret. I responded to none of them. We arranged visitation through lawyers. He saw Noah on weekends at first. Then less. Turns out, being a weekend dad was harder than it looked. Especially when the kid clung to me at pickup and cried at drop-off. Sharon and Arnold? They tried to visit too. I told them they could under one condition. They had to sit down and say, out loud, in front of Noah, "You are our grandson. We're proud of you. We're proud of your mom." They never came. And that was fine. Because we didn't need them. The revenge wasn't fire and brimstone. It wasn't loud. It was quiet. It was peace. It was raising a little boy in a house where love didn't come with conditions. It was watching him fall asleep in my arms, safe and sound, knowing no one could ever question who I was again. It was building a family, not from appearances or biology or obligations, but from truth. That's the best kind of revenge, I think. Living well, loving hard, and never letting someone else define your worth.